we're going to start off being my Super Star Destroyer for 5 minutes, just because it's been hanging on my wall the last week, and as you play it more, it's been gifted first ever, as far as I'm aware, a set of real strings. The strings, I think, it was maybe about 10 years ago about this, and the strings were in, well, the bass strings are still obviously not changed to him, but I put electros on it. It's like, oh. Hey Daniel, Joe, how's it going? Someone asked me the other week about whether it's worthwhile coil splitting humbuckers. Totally is. I just did that on this. This has never had coil splitting humbuckers before. That's why I could do the clean stuff. Let's pick up a zone. Bridge, single. Joy the US Dream pedal. The humbucker. Yeah, so I've still got half a bucket left from last week, a whole week without drinking. So I'm going to get tanned right into it just now. Week old bucky. Always better. Yeah, so I may as well, I dig this out every now and again. This is a me original. So the plan with this was I wanted to make the two necks line up with each other, like the headstocks, which I sort of did. Yeah, I've got a question already. Great stuff. I really don't have anything to talk about. We'll talk about this. So, Jonathan Johnston. Hey man, when reading ads for guitars, it says rewired with braided wires. Is this a more heavy-duty wire, or is there a sound difference? In the 50s, that's what you had. You had like a braided wire. I don't know if I've got a bit just sitting there. I do, but I got myself a new organizer box. So I need to take some piles of stuff off the organizer box to find it. So basically, the braided wire is what you get on old Gibson pickups and still on modern Seymour Duncans. So it's kind of like a center core and then sort of clothy stuff, and then sort of a mesh of wire around the outside. Generally, no, I don't think it makes any difference, but the idea is it's got shielding all the way around the outside, but you've kind of got that anyway. I think what it is, it's before you got what we now class as coaxial shielding. You can now get it quite easily, where you've got like a central core, like a rubber around it, and then you've got the shielding wrapped around the outside, and then you've got rubber on the outside. I think the reason they used to use that is because they didn't have it. It didn't exist in the 50s. So it's the same kind of thing when you're using the cloth-covered wire. It's kind of the reason they used that in the 50s. It's not because it sounds better, it's because you didn't get rubber-coated wire yet, or the PVC wire. So I guess if you're paying £2,000 for a guitar, it's nice to have the braided wire, but no. If anything, I find it more annoying than anything else. I've done it on, if you do the Peter Green pickup mod on a Gibson Les Paul, which I did to my pal Jerry's one, it's got the braided wire, which means that because in Peter Green mod, what you're doing is you're flipping one of the pickups around the other way. Basically, you're taking the what is the hot wire and the earth wire and swapping them over. What that means is when you do flip it, the whole outside of this cable, the braided bit is all live. So if that touches anything, it just shorts the guitar out. So you need to kind of put some sort of rubber tube, and I use heat shrink wrap to wrap the entire length of the cable to stop it shorting out and things when you've got it in thingy mode, when you've got it in phased mode. What's my favourite type of pickup? It's just by complete coincidence, my favourite pickup ever is this one here, which is in this guitar more by accident than anything else. This is an Ibanez Super 58, and whether it's this guitar, because it's quite massive, and it's like hand built, and it's maybe there's an element of when you hit a chord, like the bass strings vibrate a bit sympathetically, even though you kind of get your arm on it muting it. This is my favourite pickup. Sorry, now I'm on it. This one. So I think it's kind of it's quite a bright pickup. And it distorts quite early in the range of things, which suits me really well. Those are the sort of pickups I do like. If you're mad into your Slipknot and stuff like that, and you want to have tons and tons of gain, a pickup like this doesn't really do it for you. This is kind of more. It's not as bright as a DiMarzio Super Distortion, but it's a similar sort of thing, like where I like to live, which is kind of at the sort of level of distortion we're at there, as about as distorted as it goes. broke into it today to add the coil split. No, I don't get any complaints from my neighbours. I don't really talk to them. The guy next door pure hates me. The guy on that side, I don't know why. I get big smiles and I wave to the woman on the other side. But the guy there, I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with the fact I've got 2 cars rusting up the driveway and I'm always noisy. I don't know, but I kind of say hello and he just goes. So, I don't know. Never had any actual complaints about noise, but I'm not really that noisy. And it's kind of the reason I'm in this room and not in my living room, because I figure here I'm in a wee bit of a sort of zone because I've got this, that's the outside wall. There's another room there, so there's a kind of air gap. So hopefully the sound doesn't transfer through quite as much. At least that's what I'm thinking. Joe V's actually chat looks weird. Ended up buying that Washburn Hawk. Oh, did you? Oh, fantastic. That was the early one. Yeah. It's kind of hard to... It's different. They're getting expensive now, the Hawks, and all the wings in general. Partly just, I think, because of... I don't want to say me on YouTube saying they're great, but I did start up a Washburn page for them. So there's so much more information available. When I bought mine, the first one, the Falcon, most people didn't know which one it was they had, because they were told when they bought it in 1980, oh, it's a Falcon. And it's like, I didn't know the difference between a Falcon and a Hawk and an Eagle. It's like, because you didn't have the internet to type these things in anymore. But the Hawk is awesome, an awesome guitar. I seem to remember it's a Yamaki one as well, one of the early ones, which are better. It's like the through neck. So the differences between the Hawk and you step up to the Falcon. The Falcon has a 5-piece neck instead of a 3-piece neck, and it's got coil splits, which you could fit to the Hawk if you really wanted to. The pickups can do it. That's kind of it, really. The Hawk doesn't have a separate maple or rosewood cap. It's just ash with an ash cap. But I mean, it's basically the same guitar. I class the 3 of them as almost equals. Though obviously, the Falcon's a little bit fancier. The thing I think they missed out on the Hawk was they painted the neck through, but they just kind of stained the whole thing. Whereas on the Falcon, because it's got the rosewood top, they've left the neck through bit being maple with walnut stringers, which I think looks better, which they didn't do on Hawks. But that's up to them. I've actually got a bass version of the Hawk with Vulture sitting through next door. Evening, Craig Hughes and Ruben Benedict. And I'm building a community. Wow. Maybe I am building a community. But go and continue asking me stuff. I'm just going to talk nonsense about this guitar because of what it is. So this is the Super Star Destroyer Mark II. The Star Destroyer is what I drew round, which is an Ibanez Destroyer. The bottom bit kind of, and if you imagine it being an Explorer shape, but it's got this extra cut in here to make it star shaped. I believe it's kind of similar to there's a Charvel Star guitar, which is a similar sort of shape. So they called it the Star Destroyer. And this is 2, so it's Super Star Destroyer. And the first one I made was a bit more of a test of concept. It was just Butcher's block kitchen worktop. I didn't smooth the edges very much. Single P-bass pickup and 2 single coils and the Telecaster plate. It was much simpler, and I thought this works really, really well. I'm going to, rather than strip it down and then finish off stand it, I figured I would just build another one out of ash and just modify it a bit. That one didn't have this big scoop, which is, if I'm honest, it's just there for looks. You can't, when you're playing it, see where the strap is, you can sort of get up to the 12th fret relatively easily, but any higher than that, you have to come in from the back, and it's like, I never play the bass up there anyway. But I mean, you can if it's really, you really want to, but yeah, you have to kind of play down to the 9th, and then you can come out and then back in again to bypass the strap. That's just to make it balance, because unlike all other double necks I've ever played, this one actually balances and you can play it without hurting in. I know your neighbours buy a drum kit, Jeff. Yes, I did have an electric drum kit before. If I had more room, I would buy one. But then again, I've not had anyone around. I used to have folk around my house all the time and it would just make tons of noise. My last house was in the middle of a big garden, so it didn't really, well, yes, the neighbours could probably hear me and annoying, but I was never really. It was only like on a Friday. It was only on a Saturday night, and it was always kind of, turn like it's midnight. Let's calm down a bit. So I hope it wasn't too bad. Hey Daniel, what model is that Yamaha with the mini humbuckers on it? The one I've got, it's an AEX 520. I'm not sure about the AEX. I think it's AEX. Yeah, you can tell it's quite an expensive one. It's like 5 series. It's like a £500. 2 for two. Well, in this case, mini humbuckers and 0 single coils. That's a really, really nice guitar, and it's kind of, that's my other guitar that's got mini humbuckers in it. And I think because of that Yamaha, I'm appreciating this a little bit more, because I now know what mini humbuckers are meant to sound like, and it's not like it's something I've made out of a kitchen worktop. That so it's kind of like, what's it meant to sound like? It sounds kind of thin and sort of strange sounding, and it's like, that's what mini humbuckers are. So that's the Firebird there. 58 F1 Explorer. That was expensive and pretty good. Well, not that expensive actually. That's I think £350 for an F1 Explorer is pretty good. I don't know how popular Explorers are. Do they have the same kudos as like the main Epiphones? Like, is it one of those things that maybe not everyone likes Explorers? I don't know. I mean, for me, I've always liked the I've never actually had one. I suppose this is kind of an Explorer or a Destroyer. I think Destroyer's a better name for the Ibanez ones. But the ones before this is copied from a 1985 one. But if you go back to slightly earlier in the 80s, you get the Ibanez Destroyers, which are basically the Gibson ones that they stopped making in the 50s. Apart from this horn here has a sort of a flat bit on the bottom. Apart from that, they just kind of look exactly like the Explorers. Oh, it's the guitar behind you. It looks like a Firebird. It doesn't just look like a Firebird. It is a Firebird. This is oh, jeez. I think this. I need to weigh it. This might. I've just put new back plates on it, which I should probably spend a bit more time on. This is one I made. This is it's made out of beech kitchen worktop. It's got a Bigsby on it, Warman Firebird pickups, mini humbuckers, a volume control, and a switch. I've not decided whether, I think maybe I might put some more knobs on it, just because it looks kind of weird having one. Not that I really need them, but oh god, kitchen worktop is heavy stuff. That's what this one I've got around my waist. I'm carrying about 50 kilos of kitchen worktop, enough to do a small kitchenette. Yeah, but the weight is an issue. This one, actually, considering it's a double neck, because it balances so well, doesn't seem that heavy. I've definitely played heavier guitars than this. I've got my Scavenger bass weighs more than this, and it's just a bass. Yeah. Right, Jimmy Devlin, the man of Explorer. 350. I thought 350 was pretty good deal. It's one of those ones that you never know though, because sometimes I see them. There's a Fender bass I keep seeing. It's kind of like it's not like it's like is it a Jaguar bass or something like that? And I keep seeing them. They're only like 150 quid. They look really good. I don't know why they're cheap. Is it maybe just because people don't like it because it's not a P bass or a jazz bass? I don't know. But I thought an Explorer, it's not going to go down in value, put it this way, unless it's maybe, well, he said it was a Gothic one. Now, that probably just means it's black. A Hondo H2, Steve G. I think it's the H2, the Death Dagger, or the one that's kind of a bit like a Death Dagger. They look immense. They're too expensive now, though. I think, or maybe I'm not quite right, when I was into Hondo guitars before I started getting into the Japanese stuff, I never saw them cheap enough. And I never saw one for 150 quid because I would have bought one. They were always a bit more expensive than that. I would think it's a Korean guitar. They made for 82 to 84, something like that, for those ones. They're really good. It's a good story about Hondo. Hondo made shocking guitars in the 70s, really bad. Like, not just being plywood's not I don't mean that bad. I mean just like they were plywood, but that's not the reason they were bad. Just generally awful guitars. And in 1980, they contracted some Japanese factories to make some guitars for them. The professional series. They did like a Les Pauly, a double cut Les Pauly type shaped guitar and bass. And then they did like on the Fender side, they did a Fender lead kind of looking thing and a Dan Electro Longhorn. So what they did was they got this Japanese factory to build them for a couple of years. And then, oh, you're building guitars for us? Okay, if we come and inspect the factory to make sure our order's getting filled out right. So all the head guys from Samick went to Matsumoto and Tokai and walked around the factory and saw how they made guitars. And then after like the year or whatever as the contract expired, they went, okay, that's great, we loved your guitars, brilliant. And then they went home and told their own factory how to build guitars properly. So that's when Samick guitars became good, after they'd stolen all the production techniques off the Japanese companies they did. So any Hondo after 1982, they still did make quite low end ones, but apart from the really low end ones, they are pretty good, and they're basically what you buy now when you buy like level wise a PRS SE or an Epiphone Les Paul or a Fender Classic Vibe. They're that kind of range, the same as what Korean guitars are now. They kind of, before that, Korean guitars were pants though. That was really the first when they started being able to make good ones as well. Oh, hold on, I'm actually too bad. Asking questions. I need to scroll. Where's the cursor? Yeah, right. Yeah. I think you'll love the Explorer. Explorers are funny things in the way that if you've never played an Explorer before, there's nothing here. So playing any Explorer type thing, it's really weird because you're used to there being some guitar here and it's not there. So it does feel a bit kind of strange when you first get one. Too personal. Do you work in the music industry? I don't work in the music industry, no. Job of music I fancy doing myself. I'd love to be like a bass player or a guitarist. That'd be smashing. I'd like to. Wouldn't it be nice if I could build guitars for a living? That'd be smashing. I don't know. I'm not sure the industry itself is particularly nice. I've heard nasty things about the guitar. Not so much the music industry, but in the guitar side of things, apparently, like the business people who buy and sell guitars, like to the shops, are just all bastards. And it's all cutthroat, and nobody cares about what it is they're selling. They might as well be selling microwaves or washing machines or wheelbarrows. That doesn't make it. There's no passion in it whatsoever. I don't think that necessarily applies by the time you get to a shop. Because if you're running a music shop, the chances are you're mad into guitar and you think, oh, this is great, I'm in a shop for my guitars. But I've heard it's horrible. Also, one of my pals, Scott, worked in the music industry. I was talking to him before. He was a sound technician guy. And he said a couple of things that really pretty disturbed me. He was like, yeah, everyone's full of coke. Right. Like in the showbiz thing, everyone was just constantly full of cocaine, and it's like, I totally can't stand folk on coke. It pure do my head in. So many times I've been sitting, parties or out or whatever that, or someone that's just being pure annoying. I really can't stand this guy. Oh, it's pure annoying. Then he disappear and come back from the toilet. Like, you're like, oh, that's why. It's something that dawns on me. That's when you get this attitude. So sorry if you're a mad cokehead. You're not my friend. I just can't. I don't like people. I can't handle folk on coke for some reason. As you spoke at the Firebird, you made that, cut it out. Yes, I made it out of kitchen worktop with a jigsaw, and I did actually have a routing. I do still have a routing machine. I've actually got another few bodies that I made. I've got an Explorer, a Telecaster, and a double Telecaster I was looking at earlier on. I'm thinking of building one sneakily for the bass player in my band Cranking House. He was talking before about me painting his guitar to look like a Welsh flag because he's Welsh. And rather than painting his EBO, I was thinking I might just make him like a double neck or something stupid. But I was just looking at them today. Yeah. If you've got like a jigsaw, try making a guitar. I didn't make the neck. The neck's a Hondo. I didn't make the necks for these either. This is a Washburn bass that I bought that was really ugly, and this is. I thought it was a Yamaha when I got it, but I don't think Yamaha's in a tilted back headstock unless it's not maybe it's not a Pacifica, maybe it's an RGX or something. I reshaped it. And I've reshaped this one to make them both kind of look like they matched. They don't really. Yeah. Haven't had Buckfast in ages. We're over here in Belfast drinking Guinness. Really? Belfast drinking Guinness? Get Bucky. Bucky on the go. I know I sold a guitar to a guy in it's Dublin he lives in. And I met him. My car, this must have been almost exactly a year ago. Had a Flying V, Buckfast Flying V. And he's like, I really want this. Any chance you can meet me somewhere? And I was like, my car's off the road. When my last Panda blew up. So I got the bus in to Central Station. I was like, up here, yeah, so I'll meet you at Central Station at 2 o'clock or whatever time it was. And up here, how do I recognise you? You'll recognise me. And then, so I was standing in Central Station with a guitar in my back, kind of looking about. And this guy came out like that. And he's just got, I think it's an, not Shinty, whatever they call it, Gaelic football team that are sponsored by Buckfast. So he's got like a football top on, like he's up here, and he's got Bucky on his chest. So he's a Bucky fan. I think he was Scottish. I really want to get the Hondo 2, the wood one, either SG or LP. I'm not aware of there being an SG or an LP that are Japanese. There is one, it's a bolt-on neck professional series Japanese one, which I quite fancy. It's kind of a bit more like a Les Paul Jr. And then Steve G's got the Hondo double cut. The double cut's what I'm talking about. It doesn't really have a name. It's like an H1080 or an H1030 or something like that it's called. I've got a bass version of that. Weighs a ton, but it's really good. Just be careful with it. And also you'll see that every single Hondo you see advertised says made in Japan in the advert, and every single one says it's got DiMarzio pickups. Very few were made in Japan. There's only those double cut ones, that one strange Les Paul, and a couple of Fendery shaped things. All this are Les Paul customs and that, they're all Korean. And one of those models at one point came with DiMarzio's. It was like an H1000D for DiMarzio. So the DiMarzios were an option on one or two models and a model of bass at the time, or pickups that look like DiMarzio's. So although they all say Japanese and they all say they've got DiMarzio's, very few are Japanese and even less have DiMarzio's in them. Yeah, Electric Caveman. How's Canada? Where are we going? How's it? Coke Kids is a slap. Yeah. That Hondo 335. I've seen them. Is that the revival? I need to stop talking so much and actually answer questions. Hondo made a guitar line, an extended neck, so upper register was like a mandolin. Yes, that was what I said. The Dan Electro Longhorn, which I think the bass is called a Longhorn, but the guitar line is the same idea. It's like a pure ridiculously long neck, and it's got 36 frets on it, something like that maybe. Yes, they're meant to be really good. They're meant to be the best Dan Electros ever made, because Dan Electros were made of like fiberboard with duct tape wrapped around the outside of them, whereas the Hondo one's actually made like a proper guitar. I think it's made by Tokai, that one. They've never been cheap. Even when I go back between 5 and 10 years, they were always 500-600 quid. So now they'll be more than that. And football, I don't mention football on here. Leicester 3. Well, I'll say hello, well done, Wayne. He's from Leicester, so if I support an English team, I'll support Leicester. My pal comes from there. Hondo 335, 1982. Yes, that'll be the revival one. They look really good. Again, Samick Korean. Coke Head needs a slap to give him a reality check. Yes, I agree with that. Jeff, no, this is the same bottle of Bucky I had last week. I don't think I was actually drinking it during the live stream. As soon as I stopped the live stream, I'd get fed up with the Magnum and the Eldorado, and then started doing a bottle of Bucky. Yeah. Oh wow, this is great. Actually, I'm having so many questions I can't keep up. What wood is it then? Looks good. So we're talking about, this is ash and that is beech. If that's the two guitars we're talking about, or if we're talking about the Hondos, I don't know. The Hondo double cuts are made of lead impregnated wood. If you ever, they weigh almost as much as this does. Hey, guitar god by the name of Bob, what's happening? Do you have an RGX A2 for me? Oh, I don't want to. I had, you missed it. I bought one. I swapped one with my pal. I pure loved it. I wired up the electrics to work better, and I made it have an extra light, so it's got like a coil split function, which makes the tone control light up, whereas normally it's only the volume control that lights up. And I thought, this is fantastic. What a mod. I'm going to buy another one to sell it. So I bought another one, did the same mod, put it up for sale, and swapped it for that Stratocaster in my Trades Tuesday thing. So I'm keeping my eye open to get one. You're the chap that said you couldn't get black ones, or you couldn't get a white one. They were all black. I've never seen a black one. They've always been white. They're pretty cool. 102 Professional. Yeah, Professional 2 is... Professional are the ones that are Japanese. They don't say made... No, they originally do have a sticker that says made in Japan on it. If I could get my bass down, I would show you. Have you checked out Dave Barlow? I don't know who Dave Barlow is, no, unless it's Gary Barlow's brother. I don't really know Gary Barlow either. Which ones I remember when it was green? What was green? When this was green? It wasn't this one. If it was green, that was the Star Destroyer Mark 1. This is the Star Destroyer Mark 2. This is one that's much, much more curved, and I used much more expensive parts. The first one was like I had a really cheap neck and a really cheap parts. I think I actually put Fender lace sensors on it because they look good. But apart from that, it was just like a cheaper version for this. This was the refined. Once I got the concept of, you can have it sitting at an angle and it balances, and also see when you're sitting down, well, it doesn't really show you, but that sits on your leg quite nicely, and it's incredibly comfy to play guitar or bass sitting down. What did I just get into? I don't know. I'm just drinking and talking. I ask people to ask me questions, and lots of people are, and it's pure great. And it's like, I can't keep up. Hey, bought an old Ibanez musician back in a pawn shop in Canada for about 100. Don't think about these things. There's many guitars that I saw, especially if you go back 20 years, ones that weren't worth anything and are now worth a lot. But I mean, the thing about something like an Ibanez musician, it was always an amazing guitar. So even then, the Ibanez musician is kind of like what the Washburn Wings are just now. You can sort of still see them. You still get a chance of getting someone who's found one under their bed, and because it's just an Ibanez, it doesn't say Fender or Gibson on it. They don't know what it is, so you buy it, you get it for £100 or £200. But yeah. Do you have a floating thumb technique to help with muting strings when playing bass and mute a 5-string? I'd never heard of a floating thumb technique, but I don't think so. No. Well, so my trick with a 5-string bass is I basically just pretend there isn't a 5th string there, play everything exactly the same, apart from when I'm kind of coming down the way. Boom. You've just got an extra 2 notes, and you can kind of try and squeeze them in somewhere. But I was talking about this the other day about the short scale bass. I was playing a Mikey Way Mustang bass, which is a 30-inch bass. The E string is a little bit tough on short scale basses. You have to be a little bit more careful because the tension isn't quite enough on a short scale for it to work 100% great. So you have to kind of be a bit more aware, a bit more precise when you're playing it. Exactly the same thing on a 5-string bass. The 5th string, the tension is just not quite enough, so you can't just batter away on it like you can on an E string on a full scale. You have to be a bit more considered. Think about it a bit more accurate. Yeah. I'm not really sure, Electric Caveman, what a £200 Jimi Hendrix wah that shit the bed. What wah? I don't really know. Shit the bed must mean something in Canadian land that doesn't mean here. I don't know. I've never had a wah that shat the bed. Yeah. What wah pedal would you recommend? The only wah pedal I've got is a Crybaby. I got it in. I didn't steal it. I kind of stole it. And yeah, the problem I need to have a better. Maybe if I put a true bypass loop on it. The problem is once it's on, it's kind of always on, and it's like even when you turn it off, it still sucks away half the sound, or the Crybaby does anyway. But the only ones I've ever really heard that sounded good were the Crybabies. All the Morley ones and all the sort of digitally ones didn't have that this sort of noise that you get from Hendrix. Oh. Yeah, I'll catch up. Dave Barlow, I'll look him up. He's a YouTube channel. I don't generally tend to look up an awful lot of YouTube channels. I spend my whole time looking up guitars and talking about guitars and playing guitars. So when I'm looking up YouTube rubbish, I tend to look up nonsense, Star Wars for some reason, and random things that just sort of interest me. It's like, I don't know. I'll look him up though, Dave Barlow. I'll check it out later on. XXX. I knew it was quality at the time. Oh, was that the Ibanez Musician? They're amazing. I'm a wee bit down on Ibanez Musicians just now because if you saw during the week there, I've got a yellow bass, a West Tone one that I put Ibanez Musician pickups in it and electrics, and this bass has been an absolute nightmare. It's like I was building it for me, and every single thing just goes wrong, and it takes a whole day to fix. And currently I had the whole thing up and running, playing sort of all right. I've made a mess of the headstock, but I can paint that later. And then I put in the active circuit board thing, which was working because I had it wired in a pedal. Great. Plugged it in, got it up and running. The bass control doesn't work. And it's like, you get bass, middle, and treble. It was like, bass is the one I wanted. I could have survived without middle or treble, but it's the bass one that's burst. So I spent ages poking at it and trying to make it work and swapping the pots over. And it's now sitting through there in the sin bin, and I just hate it. So that's just because it was maybe a musician pickups, nothing to do with the guitar. But musicians are awesome. They're just slightly too expensive for me. They're also very much in the coffee table era of guitars. For that, but you get the coffee table era, and then you get the spiky era, then you get the mad paint job era. Like coffee table being sort of 78 to 82. But nice though. RGX were decent money every time I think of looking. I saw someone like me at Ibanez that were selling for that was 500 quid. I didn't charge 500 quid for mine. Maybe I should have. Amazing guitars though. Invest in Ibanez. Yes, I will tell you about the Ibanez Iceman that I didn't buy. It wasn't an Iceman, it was an IC300s because they weren't originally called Iceman. And this thing was a sort of metallic turquoise blue with white binding on it. And it looked amazing. This is maybe 3 years ago, around about Christmas time. And I didn't bid on it, and nobody bought it at 300 quid. It was like a 1981 or 1982. So I'm thinking I'll just see one of them. I've not seen anything even remotely like it since. I don't know whether either didn't get bid on or the guy just went off. He was putting on at 300 as a wee taster, assuming it would go for more than that. But I do want. I'd like an Iceman, but it'd have to be an 80s era Iceman, and because it has to be the 80s era Iceman, it's going to be a really expensive Iceman. So I'm not going to end up with one. Unfortunately, why I died. All I know about it is the Jim Dunlop Crybaby one is the one. I used to use it in the Black Sabbath band after the end because for the intro to NIB, and I actually bought a wee multi-effects unit thing, a wee cork thing, because it's got a wah-wah and a tuner on it because I was just sick of carrying what's basically a brick in my gig bag, which you think didn't really weigh that much. It does when you put it in your gig bag suddenly. It's like, it's fine, it's just got a guitar, so it just puts over that limit and becomes very expensive. Jonathan Johnson, do you own a fretless bass? Not anymore. I had one for years, a Yamaha one, and it used to, the neck, I always hated the shape of it. The neck was on that EB-0, and I did gigs with it. And then I took the neck off that, and I put it on my 3-neck Flying V, the Flying M. And if you've got like a glow-in-the-dark coloured spiral Flying M, you don't want a fretless bass on it. So basically, I took that neck off it again, and then I put it on a wee Stag body, and I put a Land Rover badge on it and sold it. In fact, I swapped it for that amp. I think, if I remember correctly. But no, the thing about fretless bass was it was fun, but it really boiled down to there's not really any music I like that's got fretless basses in it. You know, I was searching to try and find things, and it's just like not worth the effort. Didn't like it. Kind of gave up. Just saw my Digitech Whammy 4 guitarist, and after the end uses a Digitech Whammy 4, which I think I managed to convince him not to use anymore. Guys playing through 10 grand's worth of amp. You know, he's got like some. I think we worked out before. One of his, he's got like a Flynn Rory Gallagher treble boost pedal. He's got 2 of them. One of them costs more than my entire rig, including all the clothes I was wearing at the gig. But yeah, so it's like, and he was running all this stuff, running it through a Digitech Whammy rather than actually detuning it. I think I managed to convince him to actually just detune the guitar and take a second guitar to do that. I need to try and answer somebody quicker so I can get caught up. I'm a wee bit behind here. Can you do a day in the life video? What, the Beatles song? Or just like a day in my life? I don't think that'd be that much fun. There's always something. I'm having problems just changing pickups. It's one of those things that, see, to write down on paper how to change a pickup, dead easy. Oh, you just take it out, put it in, swap the 2 wires over. What could take ages? But when you've seen it, I've done a couple of pick-uppy changey videos, and it's like, I know what I'm doing. I've done it, yeah, hundreds of times. I've changed pickups, and even then, there's always things you just go, because the pickup doesn't quite fit, or it's like too big, or the springs don't fit anymore, or the wire's not long enough, or there's all these things that just even get down to annoying things. Like, see, when you've got to try and, like, if you're putting in the neck pickup, and there's a hole that obviously runs from the neck pickup into the bridge pickup. You've got to put the wire through. Quite often, if you change the wire, you put in a bigger pickup that's got 4 wires instead of 2. They don't bloody fit through the hole. And just all these wee stupid annoying things. And also things like pickup rings are not all the same size. The screws that hold the pickups in are not all the same threads on them. So you just, yeah, it's a nightmare. And it doesn't... One of the most annoying things that used to always get me was changing pickups for a Strat, because you've got to try and put the Strat plate back on again, and you're forever sitting there. I've got like a wee steel rule, so you've got the plate sitting on the top, and you're sitting there poking all the wires to try and get them to fit inside the cavities, otherwise they get stuck. Really annoying. Ibanez Destroyers are big money. They are. They were big money when I mean, there's guitars I don't even look at. I don't even bother looking at guitars at $2,000 and all that. Because I'm never going to buy them. So, I mean, I'm always looking at the cheaper end of things. But, I mean, yeah, I would imagine a decent condition Ibanez Destroyer, like the Destroyer 2, must be £1,500 or something now, I would have thought. Especially one of the sunbursty ones. They're just expensive. The Ibanez IC300 in dual blue. That sounds like the one I was talking about. £500. I might not be right with the IC300. It might not have been called that, but it might be. I'm sure it had its own name. Maybe it was. I have an old Aria Pro 2 Cardinal. Do you know today different serial number? Yes, I do. The first number is what year it is. So it'll be, if it's a Cardinal, I would say it's going to start with a 2 for 82, basically, or 3 for 83, or 1 for 81. That, I think that the next 2 numbers might be the month. But my pal has got, I convinced one of my pals to buy an Aria Cardinal in turquoise. It wasn't that cheap, but I'm looking for a bass, and I've learnt from him before that it was him that bought he bought a PRS SE against my business. He's like, I've got £300 to spend on a guitar. Can you find me one? And I was like, yep. And I found him. I can't remember what it was. Maybe an Aria Pro or a Washburn or something like that. It was like £200, and it was like it was a pure top of the range, fantastic, wipes the floor with anything under £1,000 you can buy now guitar. And he was like, I've got £300 though. And it's like, well, buy the guitar for 200 and then give me £100. And it's like, he didn't. He bought a PRS SE, which I hated. I thought it was a terrible guitar for how much he paid for it. And then he did the same again. And this time it was like, you're right, he's got £400. So I found an Aria Cardinal bass for £400. And the thing is amazing, and he absolutely loves it. Fantastic. The Aria Cardinals. I don't have one because I've got enough guitars and it's a little bit like that Hondo double cut we're talking about there, kind of P-bass pickup. It's not mad enough considering I don't need a bass. If I didn't have a bass, I would totally buy one. Amazing. Level 42. Yeah. I used to hate 80s music, but I can totally appreciate it. Not did I like listening to it? Yes. The guy Mark, can't remember his name is, Mark King. I'll smash him into the ground like blood tent peg. He did a thing at the start of this lockdown thing, so probably about a year ago, where he was just sitting in his house in the Isle of Wight, and he wore like a sparkly jacket and just played along with backing tracks of his songs, and it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. It was an evening well spent. I think his girlfriend was singing some songs as well, but it was just being like, bam, bam, ba, hey, great fun. I don't think I really got it. I wasn't about it at the time, but when I was younger, but when you actually see this guy, he's just big cheesy grin, and it's really funny. And when you see him playing it, you realise it's kind of meant to be funny. So I'm a big fan of that, but I don't know if he played fretless. As a bass player, do you like old or new strings? Well, it goes with the... Obviously, I'll have new strings, but I'm really, really cheap. So I would have new strings all the time, but you can get away with bass strings for an awful lot longer. Like this, these must be coming up 10 years. So they're kind of dead, they're not rusty, but definitely new strings. It's just that I'm too tinky to buy them, especially when they're 20 quid a set. You know, it's like, for 20 quid, I'm buying basses. You know, which is, it's not right. I saw someone put an advert, asked a question on the Facebook page, Music Gear and Advice Scotland or something like that. And I was like, how do I make the strings on my bass seem like they're 10 years old? I really just felt like typing in, here mate, give me those strings, I'll give you a set of whatever bass I've got that's got strings that are 10 years old on it. I probably should have actually. Maybe sounds a little bit cheeky. No standardization. Steve G, I'm kind of lost you there. What was the last time Steve G said about standardization? No, I don't know. All right, I don't know what standardization you're applying to, but no. Catching up. Serial number, bass players. I'm a 40-year-old bass and guitar player. I've been playing bass for about 9 months. Starting to look for another one. Do you have any tips for the second-hand bass for an intermediate? Look, Fender, the Squire basses are all good. They're easy to get. Me, obviously myself, I'm mad into 80s Japanese because they make the best stuff. So I'd be looking at Washburns and Aria Pros between sort of 1980 and 1985. You can pick up one of them. I saw one the same as my laser bass, but it was white, and it went for 240 quid. And this bass is as good as anything you could buy for $1,000 new. So have a look at that. And the trick with the Aria Pros is they might be sort of slightly ugly shapes or slightly odd looking shapes. But if you look at the serial number on the back, like I've just said to someone else, the first number is the year. And if it's made in Japan, below that it says made in Japan. If it doesn't say made in Japan, it still might be quite good, but it will not be a pure Turbo Pro level guitar. So, I mean, and it'll probably only cost 50 quid more to get the Japanese one. So I would basically look for an Aria Pro Japanese or West Tone Thunder. The reason I'm kind of going well is because they're starting to go up in price. So you're probably talking about 250, 300 quid for a West Tone Thunder now, but they are awesome. Basically the same factory as the Aria Pros. Fantastic. Serial number 108, if it's you said it was a Cardinal bass. It was a Cardinal bass, it's 1981. The serial number 1. Unless there's a modern Cardinal bass I don't know about. The Cardinal bass was kicking about in the early 80s. Kurt Cobain used to play one, like guitar version. Steve, how many guitars have right at the moment? I can't roll 2, a bass and a guitar. It's embarrassing. I go through a lot. Revelation guitars, I've got 6 of them. So I better not say they're pure rubbish. No, I've had a couple of Revelation guitars too. Yes, they're kind of. I got them mixed up with Reverend. Revelation is a sort of more bargainy one. They're sort of like the two £300, whereas Reverend are sort of £800, I think. I don't know if, apart from having a relatively similar name, I don't think they've got much in common. But no, I thought they were excellent, kind of sort of retro but new looks. I can totally see why people like them. Kind of going along this sort of jazzmastery type aesthetic, you know, sort of like an old vintage radio or something, or a Chevy car kind of look. Well, standardization screws, pickup rings. Yeah, okay, I know. Nowadays they're all the same. But even go back to, I was playing that guitar there, the Encore. It's an Indian one, and the pickups don't fit in anything else. You can't put anything else. The neck's a stupid shape. Every part of it basically can only be on it. So it is annoying. Whereas now, that's because back then there wasn't the option to just buy cheap rubbish from, or as cheap stuff as you can get from China. Nowadays, it's difficult to, rather than make a specific size of bridge, the cheapest way to make a bridge is to just buy them on bulk from China, and they'll just be standard strat sized. Dead easy. Anyone like a West Tone Thunder? Everyone who's ever played a West Tone Thunder likes a West Tone Thunder because they're absolutely amazing. Guitars and basses. I had a guitar last week, the week before, and just in for a setup, and the thing was beautiful. It was almost as good as the Washburns. It really was just a stunning piece of work. And honestly, if you put that up, brought it out now, it'd be £1,500, and you could just see, just even if you didn't play the guitar, you could just tell by looking at it. You would look at this thing and go, wow, and then you would look at like a modern Gibson Les Paul, and you'd go, oh, it's not as nice, but it doesn't have the make on it. Show some projects you're working on. Yes, I'll do that in a minute. For £500 and needed a guitar, had to be new. Oh, would you buy something cheap and modify it? I think that's the last one. So I'm not cut up. Genuine string. Oh, I'm missing out. I've missed out some. Hold on. I'm trying with the idea of building a kit guitar. What's your take on them, mate? It's a lot of work. I would basically start off, before you built a kit, buy some cheap guitars from Gumtree, ones that need fixed up, like a Squire Strat with a couple of tuners missing type thing, or that's an Encore. Have a look at Encores, stuff like that. I would basically have a go at one of them first, and then make it to your, maybe put better pickups in it or paint it and do all that stuff, because at least then you're starting off with something that works. Whereas doing the kit thing is a hell of a lot of work. And the reason I'm saying not to go for a kit is I have bought half a dozen to 10 kits over the years, like a £150 kit with an extra £100 worth of parts on it that somebody's made. They didn't know what they were doing, and I've ended up buying it for £50 half a dozen times. So unless you're willing to spend months, that was months, which is weeks and months, doing the painting stuff and all that, I would suggest buying a cheapie, buy a couple of cheapie Squires or whatever they are, and modify them yourself. Try put a humbucker in it, or fancy switching, or painting it neon yellow, or doing a Van Halen with it or something like that, and learn how to do it that way. And then at the end of that, you can probably sell that, and you, rather than buying a kit, spending ages trying to do just the simplest thing, and then but the bits don't fit together either. It's like the neck doesn't just fit on like Lego. You have to be able to adjust it, and you have to know what it is you're doing. So yeah. So that was the kits. If you had £500 and needed a guitar, had to buy new, I would have spent the full money on a better guitar. Right. So the situation is, I don't have any guitars. I've sold them all, or something like that. £500 new guitar. See, I'd be tempted to buy something like a Squire Bullet Mustang, because it's the best new guitar I've really played. They're like £120, and then I'd have £380 to spend on Buckfast and Curry's. I don't think there's much point. Not in a situation of you buying that and then sticking £100 worth of bare knuckle pickups in it. Not really worth it. I would have a look and see what there's demand for second hand if I was going to be buying a new guitar. £500 doesn't even get you that good a one, to be honest, these days, and I've never spent £500 on a guitar. But if you go into Guitar or whatever shop with £500, you're not going to get something that's pure. It's the most amazing thing ever. It's always going to be like Yeah, it's kind of all right. It's quite good. You're not going to get the most amazing thing ever for £500, unfortunately, which you can if you buy it second hand. Those Encores made in India are pretty good. I don't know who Sam Deek is, made of Indian ash, and the pickups are meant to be okay too. Yes, I've got one here. This was one that was going to be my, I think it's Iron Brewcaster, about 20 something. And it's just so good. I can't sell it. It's practically as good as the Fender. It really is amazing. And it's all the original pickups, apart from I added in an extra one to make it so it's got 5 humbucker sounds as well. But these are fantastic guitars. Annoyingly, the neck doesn't fit on anything else because it's too thin here. The pickups are thinner and wider than any other pickup, so you can't just put any pickups in it. The scratch plate's obviously a different shape, and the bridge is a different dimension. So basically, you have to buy one of these with all the bits on it. But you can pick these up. I paid £10 for this. Yeah, and all I really did was, apart from the painting it, was clean it up and paint it silly. But fantastic guitars. If you see one of them kicking about, and if you've any, it's exactly the same as there's a Sun Mustang, which looks like that if you get one that's got like a Fender-shaped headstock. I'd just buy it and then use that for your kit guitar thing. Made of Indian ash, possibly. The pickups are fine. They're called steel backs because they get metal backs on them. They're not, it doesn't have the middle pickup being reverse wound though. So they're all the same. So you can't do my humbucker trick. That was why it necessitated me adding the orange pickup, which is reverse wound, reverse polarity, and it goes into series with things to make humbucker sounds. You can't do it without an extra pickup. And you can't make another pickup fit in the holes either. Someone said, play a song. What's the first one that comes to your mind and give it a blast? First one is Highway to Hell. Oh, that's just, I wonder how AC/DC is that sounding? Too fast, isn't it? Very fast Highway to Hell. Very fast. It's far too fast. No, AC/DC never played it that fast. Yeah, so I don't know what the first song I would play is. My problem is I can't remember any words for any songs ever. The songs that I play are the songs that I learned when I was like 18. Those are the only ones I can actually remember any words to. Lyrics are a strange thing. I don't really care. Really. One of my favourite bands is Baby Metal, and they all sing in Japanese. And occasionally there's words that you can kind of pick out. Give me a chocolate or chocolate. I kind of know what that means, but I mean, ultimately I prefer a vocal line. And then later on, obviously, if it's about, not that there's many songs about, raping and beating up kids or anything like that, but I mean, it's like maybe later on you go, the words are maybe a wee bit dodgy, but I still like the song first. Gumtree Till I Die. Gumtree's a funny one. Don't ever get your hopes up on Gumtree. A lot of bastards on Gumtree. All your manners and stuff goes straight out the window on Gumtree. So I've told the story many times. Folk, guitar, 50 quid. I've got it up here, right? Advert's been on 10 minutes. Phone up. Hello, I'll take the guitar for 50 quid. That's brilliant. When's good for me to come and pick it up? And they say, anytime after dinner, 7 o'clock. That's fine. Brilliant. See you at 7 o'clock. Then I get a phone call back going, someone else has offered me 60 quid. Do you want to offer more of that? No, bang. So that's shit. I've had it before when I almost bought a Gibson Les Paul. It was 400 quid and it was on the south side in Paisley, something like that. And I bought it as I phoned up here. I'll take the Les Paul. That's good. The guy's up here. Yeah. Well, there's a guy just driving down from from Fife just now. He's gonna buy it, but it's first come, first served, mate. So if you can get here before him. And I was like, but you've got this guy driving from Fife, a 2-hour drive to come, and then you're just gonna go, someone else got here first. Bastards. Yeah. So I'm not super. That's the thing, you just gotta be ready for that on Gumtree. a lot when you still get honourable people. I mean, I got that Ibanez blazer for nothing. Actually I didn't pay nothing for it, but I did. Actually, one of the best countries I ever got. I got a BC Rich Warlock that had some damage on it I had to fix, and an Epiphone Flying V which needed new strings, like a set neck Flying V. Yeah, for nothing. I had to drive to Edinburgh to get them. But the guys up here, I was just free to a good home. I was like, on for 1 minute. I'll be over in 1 hour. Where are you? And then I just went over and got it. So, I mean, you can actually get amazing guitars for nothing. But assuming that you can drive and you can leave right now, you don't mind going to... The more drink, the more lyrics appear. Oh, no, not for me. The more I drink, the less lyrics matter. And it just becomes a... Yeah. I tend to find my guitars... It was Facebook Marketplace, but when they redid Facebook, it doesn't seem to work anymore. It's like I used to get, like notification 5 minutes ago. Here's a guitar that's been popped up in your ear. Oh, that's good. That's interesting. I'm here. I'll be able to nab that quite quickly. But now the notifications I get is for shit like pottery in Liverpool. It's like, why am I getting notifications for pottery in Liverpool? It's like it's not even close or anything to do with guitars. And it's like it used to have a thing where you could search in, you could just like type in musical instruments and then search for newest ads, so you get all the bargains. It doesn't exist anymore. You can only choose used or new. You're like, yeah. So Facebook Marketplace was always good. There's a good site if you're local to this area called the Music Gear Buy and Sell page. I think Jimmy Dev was on here earlier on. He's probably gone now. Bored of me talking too much, but that's a really good site. It's closed just now because of COVID, but that was the best one. That's where I sold all the Buckfast casters. Got my wee bit of a celebrity on there. And that's where I liked selling them and buying them. But yeah, Gumtree, I've got an awful lot of good stuff off Gumtree. It's just that Gumtree's a little bit, as I said there, about the people. I also see when you're trying to sell something and it's like pure, oh mate. If anyone, their initial message to you starts with mate, I'm always pure. Don't like that, and then it just yeah. I do like. I do. Gumtree's good for cheap, and I always tend to buy. I'm getting better at knowing what it is what I'm choosing to buy. There's certain brands where I kind of go. Because the thing is, they're worth the same price. So it's like, I tend to not, and any Squire under 50 quid, it's a Squire, so I can make money on that. I can buckfast it up. People love it. Encore, I've not really come across any bad Encores, but it's this whole thing. The difference about me buying guitars for me or buying guitars I'm going to buckfast up and sell. So I suppose technically I'm making. So you got to try and buy something that's sellable, ownable, or something that isn't sellable, ownable. Something like an SG, a Strat, even a Firebird, they're quite sellable, but it's something that's a bit more off the wall and crazy, you might not be able to sell it. I've got a Bullet, not that keen. Bit of a Hammer EXP in black and possibly changing finish and front trim. I think you're better off buying a guitar that already works and then modifying it than you are doing kits. I don't know what's the Bullet. Maybe it's just. I don't know. I think the thing that gets me about the Bullet is we're talking about the Bullet Mustang here, yeah. It is quite small, but I like the fact it's only 120 quid, and I'm willing to give it an awful lot of leeway because it's 120 quid. And you're buying a guitar that I would basically gig with. I'd need to set it up, but I'd gig with it. So I've got no problems with that. I start to struggle more when you get into the classic vibe and the Epiphones at 500 quid and all that, and you're spending £500 on a guitar, and it's basically got much nicer paint than the Mustang, but it's a similar level thing but with a much nicer finish. It doesn't compare to. I don't have any of that one. I don't really have any 80s Japanese ones. They're not in the same league as these things, which you can pick up for 500 quid even if you're buying them at the top end of what they're worth. Marketplace has gone bad. It's a shame. They're obviously. I think maybe one of the problems is maybe nobody's making any money from it. Is that what it is? Maybe nobody's making money, therefore they're trying to delete it or something. I've noticed messengers get really bad as well when they redid Facebook. It's like I used to have like along the bottom of my screen have like 10 messages all going at the same time, all about guitars, pretty much because that's just that sad. Yeah, I'm a Diamond. There's a song, the Glasgow Diamonds American football team from the 80s, which is worth looking up if you've never heard it. The Glasgow Diamonds. We are the Diamonds. Bam, bam. It's got the most 80s sounding thing ever, and they're going down around George Square in an open top bus. And this is like some American football team from Glasgow, and I would say going by the video, 1986, going by the shell suits and stuff. That's well worth looking up. So if you're watching this, look up the Glasgow Diamonds song, and it's a pure "We come from Glasgow," and they've got like the tashes and that. Yeah. 80 quid's great for that. I bought it for my daughter to play, so perhaps wrong, but I think 80. But the thing with the Squire Bullets is 80 quid's a decent price. I've seen them for sale for that, and I bought one for 60 because I thought 60 quid. I could totally put in a Switch and get 100 for it. I did, but they only cost £110 new, and they're worth a couple of years later. They're worth 80 quid. That's pretty good going. Try comparing that to buying a Yamaha Pacifica for like 200 quid, and then try and sell it a year later, and you're going to get 80 quid for it. You're like, oh, less than half. Set it up basically, and because it's a slightly shorter scale, I like the Mustang. I was meant to actually get one off my pal, who's I think he's in the chat just now. Part of a swap for a Chinese Telecaster, but he thought better of it, and I was like, damn it! So he just gave me the money instead, which is fine. But I was a little bit annoyed. I think you'll find that the Diamonds were probably an awful lot better than the Bay City Rollers at playing American football. Yeah, I don't really know the Bay City Rollers. Is Bernardo's a good place to buy a guitar? Yes, but you've got to know what it is you're looking for. Yeah. I see your videos of the Alexi 200 that you butchered. Yes, I did butcher an Alexi 200. I wanted a baby metal guitar. I do still have that. It's on my hit list as an Alexi 600 Greenie. Not really sure what that is. Is it a similar sort of guitar? I've got a thing about that guitar because I don't like the Randy Rhoads shaped electric guitars, and that's what it is. It's purely because of the baby metal thing. I bought that. I was looking at buying Jackson Minions and guitars that I could sort of make look like the baby metal one, and that one came up white. I don't think it had any hardware on it. It was like 100. I think I paid 150 quid for it or something like that. And I thought, there we go. Rather than trying to make a guitar from scratch, because it had the right shaped headstock and all that, so it's a baby metal guitar. I do still have it, and I just don't like it. But partly because I want to play baby metal on it, and baby metal's all really, really, really hard, and I can't even start to make sense of most of it. It's all just techniques I have no idea about, like all different. Maybe that's why I like them so much, because they cover all these genres of metal that I know nothing of. Like, I don't know any of these types of music, but because they do it for like a wee bit, and then they've got the ABBA type singing over it and a disco beat for the chorus, it's like pure, so I can listen to things that I would not normally also like. Epiphone Les Paul 59, 700 quid for an Epiphone. It's like, no, you can't. For 700 quid, you can get. Surely you can. I don't know. You can get a Gibson Les Paul for that if it's really that important to you to have a Gibson Les Paul. But the thing about the CTS electronics as well, braided wiring, the CTS pots cost like £5 each, something like that, as opposed to the cheapest pots you can get, which are like £1 each. So it doesn't really make that much difference. And honestly, if they're new, that make any difference how they sound. You maybe say, oh, they turn a little bit smoother. Maybe they do. I don't sit there and go, I felt smoother. Provided it's all right, I'm happy with the volume control just working the way it does. But 700 quid for an Epiphone is just insane money. Part of that's just me getting old, though. I remember, but I've been saying that, I think it was 380 for an Epiphone Les Paul when I bought my Epiphone SG for 220. Because that was one my pal had. I didn't like it. It was heavy and it didn't sit nice in your leg and all that. And yeah. I also picked up that Muff PI Red Fuzz thingy from Alabama for about £16. I use it all the time. It's great. I've recently got a new one, which is more of a fuzz pedal, a Dolamo, which you can probably get off at AliExpress for about the same sort of money. It's much more of a fuzz pedal. So that's the twin note, which is kind of more Black Sabbathy. This is a Dolamo one. It's not set up as loud. It's much more of a tap. Yeah. But I mean, I do use that one a lot. It's kind of somewhere between a rat pedal and a fuzz, I think. But in saying that, two of my pals have bought that pedal, the twin note one, on the strength of me saying it's amazing, saying it sounds really good in your videos, and their one sounded pants. Like, whether it's maybe just my amp that makes it sound like that, or the type of music I play, or something like that is why it works for me. Either that, or maybe they're really inconsistent. I can't see how they'd be inconsistent. I think maybe if you've just got an entirely different rig setup, like maybe you've got like a modelling amp or something like that. I mean, one of my pals, Ian, told me that mine's my amp's really trebly sound. Like, maybe it is. Yes, I don't really know. But I don't really use any really heavy distortions, so it's kind of. I've got the bass. If I want a bassy sound, I'll play the bass. But I mean, I think you're right. 16 quid. I mean, they're now 30 quid if you buy them on eBay. I paid 16 for mine. Like a big muff with the treble boost, possibly. I've got a micro metal big muff, which is a sort of heavy metal big muff, and the treble boost on it is basically just one of those switches you will never ever turn on. It's got treble boost and bass boost, both of which are just nope, turn it back off again, and I'll try the bass one, nope, back on again, and never touch it again. Really horrible. A Kuvabi fuzz. I don't know. So where do I draw the line with fuzz pedals? It's like all my pedals are fuzz pedals. It's like I've got one I can't even have in my Terminator one, which it's got the Terminator on it. I'm going to change the light bulb from purple to red on that, but I mean it's not even plugged in because I've got too many fuzz pedals. I've also got the Behringer Super Fuzz, which I need to do another video of. I need to actually learn how to use the thing. I'm just really enjoying having the twin note, which is a sort of not really that much fuzz. The Dolamo, which I believe is a fuzz face, and then I got one called a Super Fuzz, which is like a handmade thing by some guy in Facebook Marketplace was selling it for 20 quid because the pedal was broken. Don't really like keep buying and flip the shit ones. Yeah, well, I did buy one which was very popular, and also I liked the name of it. It was a Fux Fuzz, Fuxx Fuzz, and one, I wanted a fuzz pedal. Two, get some perverse pleasure. It's a Fux Fuzz. I didn't swear. It's Fux. That's not swearing. But it was terrible. It was I couldn't get a sound out of that that I didn't immediately want to go. Just turn it off. It was awful. Again, maybe that works really well with someone else's amp or someone else's style of playing. It didn't work for me at all. It was terrible. I have heard of the Kuvabi one. I don't know. It's a mini pedal, isn't it? Once I start getting back into the band, I'm going to make myself a pedal board, because I've been doing my thing in the band using no pedals, and even like the last time, one of the last jams we had, we're blasting away in the drummer alleys. It's amazing. We've had all these other guitars before, and they're sitting there with big pedal boards, and you're getting what an amazing sound with just that one pedal. And I was like, pedal? I was like, oh, that's a tuner, because I don't even use any pedals apart from a tuner. So I should I'm thinking of maybe having a fuzz pedal and a tuner board, just for like a heavy bit in a song. Because and I just like it when I actually get a chance to run either of these amps at a sort of volume. It's got this pure amazing sound, It doesn't really do it in the house or at normal volume. Yeah, I think the thing is that I'm scared about with the Kawaii one. I suppose if I get one second hand, it wouldn't matter. Is getting exactly the same pedal as the Delamo or the Twin Note, like just the same pedal in a different box, which it might be. I don't know, but I mean that's the thing. I mean I've got a pedal here I borrowed off a pal. A Game Changer plasma pedal, which when I saw this, I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and it was in an Anderton's video. Talking about who I watch on YouTube, I watch the Anderton's videos. I like the captain. I think the captain's a genuine bloke. Not that I'm trying to get invited on. And I think that's what makes it for me. Is like, and I watch the JHS pedals guy. Even though I'm not that into pedals, I find when the host is very enthusiastic about whatever the subject is, it makes it much easier to watch. I find an awful lot of guitar-y channels. It's very rehearsed and not disingenuous, the opposite of genuine, where it's like you kind of it's like I got given this pedal, so it's like here's a really great review, and it's like here's my processed affiliate link and stuff, and you're like didn't really. The thing about Chapman is, no, I don't really like him, but I think he's brand new. He's just one of those people that you don't really like. I don't think. I mean, I have heard an awful lot of nasty things about him, but that's what people. There's a guy that managed to get from like 1,000 subs like me up to 50,000 in one weekend by having a video that just said, "Here's why Chappers is a dick" or something like that, and it's like, I'm not doing that. I mean, I'm sure the guy's all right. He's just a bit of a lead guitarist. Although I'm actually in a band as a lead guitarist, he's a bit kind of a bit self-confident maybe. Whereas I come across as self-confident because I worked out many years ago as an arrogant guitarist that being arrogant and standing at the front is much more important than being good. Yeah, so there's a tip for you. If you want to be a rock star, act like a rock star when you're on stage. Throw the shapes, play it loud, batter about. Much better doing that and making lots of mistakes than standing at the back too quiet. That's never going to be good. Whereas, whether that's right or not, I don't really watch that much Chapman stuff anymore. It's difficult because they're in a different world, sort of thing. I mean, they're sitting there and it's like, it's when someone starts talking about a guitar being great value. That's really great value, this guitar. And it's like, it happened to be the big dawning point with me. I think it was the second time I went to China. I bought the first guitar magazine I'd bought in about 10 years just to read on the plane. And it was like £7 or something, so I've never bought one since then. And I was looking at it and there was some Fender Strat and Telly that came out. I can't remember what range they were. But it was like, yeah. And it's like, yeah, they're talking about like a blue Telly and a blue Strat. And it's like, it's got a maple neck, right? And all these things that you kind of expect. And then at the end, it's like plus points. It was like great value for money. It was £1,600. How could a guitar at £1,600 be great value for money? That just doesn't scan with me at all. I mean, £1,600, I'm buying 10 guitars. And it's like, okay, if you play guitar every single day and it's your livelihood, I can understand why you would want to have just the best. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, it's like, really, I mean, half the guitar, all the guitars I've got, I mean, anyone, give it to Hendrix or Jimmy Page or John Fogerty or something at a jam in the 70s and they go, well, this is great, this is fine, and they would be totally happy to gig with it. Absolutely no issue at all. And it's like, so having tens of guitars that are like that rather than having one, it's been amazing. Dave Simpson's a good one. Yes, I know Dave Simpson. When I say I know him, I've watched some of his videos. He's kind of like me, basically. Although, to be fair, I had started my channel before I'd seen him, before I realised he's kind of doing what I'm doing. Really, he moves his camera around the house, so I don't do that. I quite like him. I do feel, it's like I don't want to be slagging people off, but I just feel sorry for him because I'm probably the same age as him, but look, I've still got hair all over my head. Praise the Lord, really. Really one of the best things that ever happened to me is the fact I've still got hair. So many people I know, I mean, we went bald when they were 20 and all that, and it's like, touch wood, lots of wood, and I've still got the hair. I'm lost it. In this world, I'll see you at the flea market. Bye. Yeah, well, I don't know. If you don't have to pay for the guitars, I mean, I'm sure that if you ran, you know, you were getting handed 10 grand PRSs every day of the week, and you know all these things, you're going to be able to try and find a different part. Yeah, if you're a cheap guitar through a 3 grand amp, I know, but I'm kind of guilty of that as well. Well, I'm not using a 3 grand amp. I am using the wee Laney, which, to be fair, you can pick them up for about 150, 200 quid. But that's just because that's what I like. It does the sound of what the Softtech that it's sitting on top of does, whatever that is. I'm not really that into amps, but that just does the sound that I like. So, yes, I am demonstrating guitars I'm selling for 100 quid. And I'm using a £400, 300 something pounds new amp. But I have done it before. I've got a wee Black Star that I'm going to give to my girlfriend that I use. Yeah, it's difficult, but the thing is, you've got to think of when people are trying to sell things. I mean, to a certain extent, I am as well. I've got to try and sell things that I'm going to sell. And ultimately, if I think it's the best guitar in the world, I'm keeping it. So I'm selling guitars going, this is great, but I'm not lying. I'm just like, you'll see the ones that I'm not selling, like these ones you see, well, I can't sell that because it's not worth any money, and I can't sell that because it's not worth any money, but things like that and that, it's like, I'm not selling them because I really, really, really like them. But then again, you get guitars. When I was down to see my pal Scott the other day, he had the Dean ML camouflage one, which I swapped with him for something. I swapped it for the Yamaha RG XA2, and it was horrible. But the thing was, it was quite a nice guitar. I couldn't knock it. It played well, good action, nice feel. It's just the fact that it looked like what it did was just an absolute. I just couldn't play the thing. Just like in no situations I want this. I basically did it as a deal because I swapped it for a bass. I think and the guy was happy. I'll stick this on. I think it was 120 quid or something I wanted for the bass. For the bass is up. You swap it for a DMML. And I'm like, and I really don't like the guitar. It's hideous. He was like, well, I'll tell you what, can you hold off a couple of days? I'll stick it in Gumtree for 120 quid and it'll sell immediately because it's worth twice that. So I was like, yeah, okay. Just give it. And it hung on my wall, sitting there for like a month of me, and I never even touched it because I just didn't want to play it. JP Devlin, I don't think you're the Jimmy Devlin I think you are. There must be another J Devlin. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you're 25 years old, then man, you're ill. If you're the Jimmy Devlin, I'm sorry. Sorry if it is you, Jimmy, but I assumed you were at least the same age as me. If you're 25, then Jesus, you're not eating right. DML, I don't know. DML just, I don't know. It didn't do anything for me. Someone asked ages ago, which I forgot about. That's been on nearly an hour and a half, so I'll get on to the next portion, which was someone asked me what projects I've been working on. I'll not show you the yellow bass, but I will show you the Tony Iommi Monkey SG, the one that was absolutely covered head to foot in stickers. And doesn't it look good once I took the stickers off? I think it's one piece of whatever this wood is. I'm going to say mahogany, but I don't think mahogany's grain like that, is it? I mean, it's one piece of wood, the body, set neck. So the plan for this is not quite worked out yet. I've bought chrome covered P90s to go in here. I do have the actual proper badass bridge with £10,000. Tony Iommi one doesn't have. It's got like a copy, and I got it for like a tenner on eBay a couple of years ago. for a guitar that I eventually ended up putting something else on. But I saw one on, I looked them up on eBay the other night, and it was 80 quid. Someone went for it. I'm not putting 80. I'll just buy a copy of it, keep the badass proper one for a bit. I don't know. Yeah, so I'm going to make this into the Iommi Monkey SG, which basically just means silver P90s. I can actually buy proper John Birch pickup surrounds, which are kind of converted to convert my humbucker into a P90, and it's only 25 quid including postage for actual John Birch, who's the guy that made Tony Iommi's guitar pickup rings. And it's like kind of, although I could make them for less than that, I'm sitting here thinking, if I put John Birch pickup rings on it, they will be exactly the same as the ones that are on the 10 grand Iommi guitar. Also in my advert, it will say genuine John Birch pickup, and in small writing surrounds. Because obviously I'm not you can buy John Birch pickups, they're like 150 quid for the set, but I'm just putting P90s in with chrome covers. I'm thinking of even I've got an engraving thing. I might engrave my own name called Malcoflux instead of Hyperflux or something like that. And then basically sort of wrap around thing. I bought witch hat type knobs. And then that's basically going to be it. I mean, these guitars, the vintage SGs are fantastic. It's basically just the same as the Gibson SG. It's really, it's not really any different. But I mean, it's a big pinch. I'm just JP from Belfast. Oh, you're a different person. Sorry. There's another guy, Jimmy Devlin, who was actually surprised. He watches. He runs the Facebook buy and sell page. So, hey, JP, different person. Big Pantera Dimebag fan. Well, that makes all the difference. It definitely does. If you're a big Pantera Dimebag fan, then I can see the ML being the one for you. I'm not. I did see Dimebag Darrell once at Milton Keynes Bowl. I went to see Black Sabbath in 1998 when I was 19, whatever it was, Ozfest 98. And I'd heard of Dimebag Darrell because I'd seen them in the guitar magazines and stuff. And when you saw Pantera that he was in, he was a superstar. Even though I'd never heard any of the songs, I don't really remember the music, but there was just this guy, and it was like, I think they had big screens, but it really was this guy just absolutely oozed cool and charisma, and immediately after 10 seconds of him standing at the front going, yeah, it was like pure, I understand why he's a superstar. I can't take that away from whether you're a fan or not, it doesn't matter, but you can't take away if you ever saw Pantera with Dimebag in it. It's like, yeah, he is a total superstar and an absolute legend. I like your videos because they don't fall into the Gibson, Fender, and PRS only category of YouTubers. I forged my own path. Yeah, I don't. The thing is, I don't really like Gibson's Fender. I mean, I've got my boarding corner, which I always point out being the Gibson SG and the Fender Strat. It's not really my thing. I think even if I had thousands of pounds to spend, I don't think I would. I mean, if someone gave me £2,000, said, "Here, go and buy whatever guitar you want," and guitar, I would be like, "How much do I have to spend? Can I keep the change?" Because that's when I would go into guitar with £2,000 and buy the Fender Bullet Mustang and keep the 1,870 quid or 1,880 quid to myself and not buy a guitar with it. I played a wee game with myself before, a couple of months ago. If you gave me, you've got a gig tonight in this city, right? You can't go home and get a guitar, so you've got to get a guitar and you can keep it afterwards. You've got up to a £2,000 budget. What guitar are you going to buy for the gig from Guitar's brand new thing? And we'll give you any amount of money you want. And the most expensive one that I liked was a Gibson SG Pelham Blue with P90s in it. And it was like 1,400 quid or something like that. And that was me starting at the most expensive one at 30 grand. And none of them really, I mean, obviously it's nice, but I can't see myself owning any of them. The first one I got to that I actually liked, coming down the way in the top, like the first 20 pages, because there were 20 pages of guitars above 2 grand, and never really did in for me. I would have thought the vintage would be mahogany, but it's like, is that mahogany doesn't have those stripes in it, or does it? Maybe it does. Look, I mean, it's not a veneer. You can see it, it goes around the outside. But that's another thing with the Epiphones. Have you seen the new Epiphone Anyway, that's me. I'm now on the Magnum. But the new Epiphone G400, which is the one I've got. I've got the one that I bought new when I was 18. It's like it's got a veneer on the top, so it looks like this. And then when it gets onto the slope is, it's an entirely different colour because it's just a veneer on the top, and it looks hideous. And it's like they really made a mistake with that one. Whereas this one, this looks proper solid. I think this is a beautiful guitar. I would have painted it. It's when I saw how nice it was. I'm not going to, when I say I'm going to make it into the Tony Iommi SG, I'm not going to put chips and stuff in it. But technically, it's never going to be exactly the same because Tony, the 69 SG doesn't have block markers. It's got dots and it says Gibson head. But I'm not bothered with that at all. I'm putting in the right kind of pickups, the right kind of bridge, and I might even try and buy a monkey sticker, and I'll play Sabbath on it. I might even use this for my trade up thing because I quite like the idea of maybe making a Tony Iommi one, but starting off with a Gibson. So maybe if I could trade this up, I'd try and trade up to one of your Gibson tribute ones or something, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I put the copper around the pickup holes. Yes. The copper tape. I've done it before. I mean, yes and no. I would do it, but I don't think it really makes any difference. But then again, it depends what it is you play through. I'm playing through a relatively clean amp at quite a quiet volume, and it doesn't really, the interference and stuff. It doesn't really get to me. A few of my pals are right. The noise thing, they need to be hum cancelling, otherwise they can't play. One of my pals actually used to sit right next to his amp, and it's like, oh, it's pure the buzz just like that. The amp is 6 inches away from the guitar. Of course it's going to buzz. It's like if you're sort of, oh no, look, it's making a buzzing noise. It's like, yeah, but just like put the guitar up over there and stand 3 feet away from it, and it's fine. I used to have that problem when I used to do guitar lessons. Actually, I used to sit on a wee 10-watt practice amp, and you couldn't sit on it, play the guitar with single coils because it just buzzed. That's what your thingies are going for, the copper tape. It doesn't do any harm. I can't really be bothered doing it. I don't do it in any of my guitars. If I did it, it would be a selling feature for selling a guitar, or it kind of shows you that there's a guitar with problems, but a lot of the time the problem isn't necessarily that, it's the wiring's not right, whereas I would just make the wiring work. It doesn't need it. But maybe if you don't know how to sort the wiring, you would just spend 50 quid on copper tape, line it all, and it would sort of reduce the hum, whereas I would just make sure it was wired right and it wouldn't hum. Yeah, the veneer on the Epiphone SGs I think looks terrible. Actually, I had a shot. One of my least favourite SGs is the one I did last year. It was a green one my pal got. I made him send it back. The fret job on it was terrible. And a £350 guitar. It looked amazing. It was green, P90s wrap over bridge. And it cost a tenth as much to build as this guitar. It really was. I mean, just looking, it had a really bad fret job, so I made him take it back. But I mean, even just the wood was kind of, what pallets are made of? It was that. It didn't look like this. It looked like sort of well polished shite. It was really, I was really disappointed in that guitar. Would you go for the fixed bridge bullet? I had no idea what this vintage is. I do not know. It doesn't have the last one I had on the back of it a ledger up here that said Alan Entwistle, JHS, blah blah blah, designed and put all that stuff. This doesn't, and it's not been worn off. It's just not there. There is no sign of a signet of a thingy on it. So I'm going to say it's older than that. The pickups aren't, which my pal Scott said were the original pickups, aren't Wilkinson branded. So I don't know. I mean, I remember having a shot of one of these before. It was a white one, and it was really cheap. And there was something really wrong with the neck joint. This one doesn't have it. This one is just the same as my Gibson. But the one that I played before, it was definitely a vintage. It was definitely white. It looked amazing. And I took one play of it and went, yeah. I maybe didn't use those exact words, but and I didn't buy it. And I think the guy wanted 25 quid for it or 30 quid for it. And I didn't take it because there was something really wrong with the design. So I don't know when that one was from, or whether it was maybe a fake vintage. I don't think it was fake vintage. I don't know. Yeah, would you go for the fixed bridge bullet? Yeah, fixed bridge all the way. If you're buying a cheap guitar, don't buy one with a Floyd Rose on it, basically, because even if you're pure amazing on the guitar and you've played with Floyd Roses for 20 odd years, it's still a pig to make a Floyd Rose work, especially a cheap Floyd Rose, especially if you're talking about a guitar that's 100 quid or 200 quid. The Floyd Rose on it is just a nightmare. I thought all Floyd Roses were a nightmare until I got my Washburn G15, which was like £1,000 guitar when it was new, and the Floyd Rose on it works. It's like, when you bend it, it goes back to being in tune, and it stays there. You're like, whoa! And I think it's just down to the amount of movable parts. There's an awful lot of parts in a Floyd Rose, and they all have to be quite accurate for it to be good. Whereas something like a Telly bridge, it's so simple that even a cheapy one, you can still make it just as good as a real one, sort of thing, because it's just like a couple of bits of rod with screws stuck in it. Yeah, that's all it is. It doesn't have any complex mechanisms and things that have to interconnect. So if I was buying cheap guitars, I would always buy hardtail, definitely. Sitting down with the SG and the Les Paul, I don't have a Les Paul, but I think I know what you mean. The curve is further back on the Les Paul, so the SG fume's further forward. In other words, yes, so a Les Paul sits there. You mean, yes. The same as my Washburn Wings, which there aren't any of on the wall just now, but it's kind of like a double cut Les Paul. Yes, it does sit differently. Also, I find that with a Les Paul, an SG's kind of, you can see it's actually got a bit of a back angle on this one. But on a Les Paul, it seems to be more, so that when you've got the guitar sitting flat here, the headstock's are way back here somewhere. I'm super mega exaggerating, but you know what I mean? To try and, because obviously the neck's angled back a little bit on this one, so there's enough room to get a bridge in, but a Les Paul's got a carved top as well, so you have to angle the neck even further back to make it high enough to cover up the carved top. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm not that keen on Les Pauls. That and the fact everyone else likes it and I'm different from everyone else. Oh. You're not fussed for using the trem bar, go for fixed bridge. I have been forcing myself to use the trem bar for the last couple of years. It doesn't really do anything for me. Actually, the last couple of years I used to play Black Knight in the band I'm in, and we're playing Black Knight, Deep Purple, but it's got pure extreme treble. That's really the first time I've ever used it in a song. And I was watching the other guys in the band laugh while I was doing it. It kind of something dawned on me. I kind of started doing a little bit more silly things. I kept noticing that as well when I was doing songs in the band. It's quite funny now when I'm playing guitar in, and it's like I'll just go, ew, and it, like between two bits, and then after that bit you did the guitar was pure amazing. It's like, what about all the bits I spent ages working out the complicated chords and all the rhythm? What he really wanted was a big pick slide. You know, it's like that's more impressive to someone who doesn't play the guitar than actually being able to play something good. The white truss order makes you think it's an old one. It could be someone. It's got something painted on it. I don't know what that is. I don't know. Here's a question for you. Why is there a bend on the neck where the tuners are on the Gibsons but the fenders are straight? Headstock angle. Partly tradition, because all acoustics and stuff had that idea. The idea being that you want to hold the strings down onto the bridge, onto the neck. You'll notice you never see string trees on angle back headstocks. When I say never, you see it all the time. But on any properly designed guitar, you don't get that. That's why vendors tend to have the string tree, so you get enough angle. Also, a Fender, this isn't a Fender, but it looks like one. One of his big innovations was he's got the strings, they come over the nut and they go in a straight line to the tuner, which means that when the string goes into the nut, it doesn't go in and then change angle and then go to the tuner, and it goes through straight, which means when you bend a string, it pulls the string through the slot a little bit and then it goes back. Whereas if it's at an angle, it doesn't, which is why Les Pauls and SGs don't stay in tune. It's just because that's the way acoustics used to be. It's like already, you're talking about going back to 1950, I think 61 or something, the SG came out. They were still doing it because vintage. Can you convert from a tremolo bridge to a telly? Not easily, no. Wouldn't it be nice? But no, it's the screws don't go in the right place. You've got to fill the hole first, which is really annoying. There's not really any easy way around that. If you've got a Strat trem, it's pretty easy just to tighten up the screws in the back. You just tighten up these screws here, so this is solid in, and then it's as good as a hardtail pretty much. This one, the block is actually broken, so it doesn't take a tremolo arm. So this one's just hardtailed. It doesn't really bother me. There is an element of it being a telly, so there's certain things that make a telly a telly. One is having the pickup in a metal plate mounted on the. This isn't a real telly, but so you've got a bridge. It's got 3 saddles, and it's got a one pickup mounted straight into this bridge. It's through strung. This one isn't, so it doesn't make any difference. And that kind of what makes it a telly. I don't know. I've been really falling in love with this telly. I'm actually I need to drop it off next week. I've got a guitar in for getting fixed, a Fender Duosonic, which has these pickups in it, because that's what I got them from. But no, I wish there was an easier way. If there was an easier way to turn like a Strat bridge into a telly, I would do it. Talk about projects. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to have a blast at this thing, which is hideous, but it's really quiet. It's really annoying. It's like it's got an active switch on it, which is not going to turn on because there's no things plugged in. Yeah, but it's got these EMG Select pickups. I don't know if anyone's ever had EMG Select before, but they seem really quiet. It's like you can hardly hear it when it's just plugged in, and then when you put the active circuit on, it just makes it into like a quiet bass. So I'm thinking of replacing the pickups. The thing that annoys me about this is it's got it doesn't have bass pickups. It's got, I think they're just guitar pickups, or they're guitar size pickups. So I'm thinking of putting like a quad reel, because I've got one, and maybe trying to make some use for this bass, because I mean it's hideous, but it plays really well. And if you're talking about getting a travel bass, this is smaller than most travel guitars, and it's full size. Right, so that's an hour and 42 in my hour-long talking shit. I get thanks, great fucking comments from everyone tonight. If I didn't mention you, then I'm sorry. Hopefully I caught everyone who mentioned in, but I mean it's fantastic, especially getting so much questions and stuff, kind of making it run, and making my Magnum and my Bucky go down really easily. So, anyway, the last question. Well, I finished tanking the Magnum, which is original Jamaican recipe, 16.5%. And it's not going to. Is it going to actually? So I'm pretty sure that's not me being drunk that's making it not focus. But there you go. So basically, when you've had half a bottle of Bucky, it kind of looks like what you're seeing there, sort of blurry and sort of going, yeah. Yeah, I mean, good fun. Beer, I drink beer. No, it's Jamaican tonic wine. It's kind of like Bucky. It tastes. Have you ever had Benylin? It's basically Benylin with alcohol in it. So it's kind of like all the joys of taking cough syrup, but you don't need to have a cough. Les Paul E-string. The E-string should be all right. You get a thing called a string butler. If I dig out this, which am I going to be able to dig this out without unplugging everything? Is there anything stuck on it? Come on, look, just release. It released. Do you know what I did on this one? This is like a Les Paul Nexie. I was having problems with the D and the G string just bending, going out of tune. But what I did was I put these rollers in, right? Which, okay, I wouldn't do this on an expensive guitar. But it's basically, that's the ball end of a bass string with a screw through the middle. So you end up with a sort of roller. and it totally solved this thing getting out of tune. I need to play this more often. This is a fantastic guitar. I've not even had a shot of this yet with the fuzz pedals, the two new fuzz pedals. That's what's great. I think I understand a little bit about people buying lots of pedals. It's like once you buy one new pedal, I used to get this when I was buying parts for my stereo as well. I'd get like a new record player or a new amp, and I'd set it up, and then I'd have to listen to all my favourite records again on the new amp. Oh, which is kind of like what happens when you get like a new fuzz pedal. It's like, oh, what does... I've not played this through the fuzz pedal yet. That'll be amazing. And then you just do that. There's an excuse to run through everything. Right, so rock on, everyone. Cheers. Craig Hughes, Daniel Burbridge, good steam. XXX Paps, late bath time for me. Guitar God by name of Bob. Yeah, I will sell you the RGX. It's for sale. Like all my guitars, they're all for sale if you want to pay more than it's worth, or more, basically more than what I think it's worth. I do really like the RGX, so I've used it a few times in the band, and it's really much fun. Is a Temperillo Sangria as good as Bucky? I don't know what a Temperillo Sangria is, but no, because nothing's as good as Bucky. Look at him. What's his face? I've talked about him before and I got his name wrong. Lewis Capaldi. It's not Lewis Capaldi. That guy, when he was up in the Brit Awards or whatever it was with his bottle of Bucky, he could afford to buy anything he wants. He could have a magnum of Moët Chandon, and he chose to have a bottle of Bucky. Out the bottle, screw top, on the stage. Brilliant. Craig Hughes, you can get a string butler that's not intrusive and could fix that. I thought Craig Hughes was a guitarist, and after the end, it was Craig Buchanan. Sorry. Yes, you get. There's actually a new string butler that came out relatively recently. That's nothing like as intrusive as the original ones. The original ones, it's like big brass thing that fits on. The newest one's quite subdued looking, maybe because it's black metal. It basically just hooks on. I think you undo the two tuners a bit, and it kind of slides in on top, and it's basically just a wee black band that does that. That's got rollers on it that take the strings, and then obviously you can take it off quite easily if you sell it. So it might be worth having a look at it. Aside of that, you get the nut cut properly. It's like a properly cut nut. It'll not be an issue, but a badly cut nut, it's just... I mean, the amount of people that they come in and goes, oh, can you fit new tuners for me? I want locking tuners because it keeps going out of tune, and it's not going out of tune because the tuners... I've never come across tuners that actually slipped, apart from if they were really, really shit, like pure ones up on your old 60s guitars and stuff like that. Okay, sometimes they... But any general tuner doesn't slip. It's the nut. It's 90% of the time it's the nut. Sometimes it's something to do with the bridge or something, but it's the nuts. It's always the nut. Yeah. Same kind of all the money in the world, but it's still a Frosty Jack. I assume that's maybe Frosty Jack. Frosty Jack. Oh, I need to get my pal G around. We had a song about Frosty Jack. Oh, it was something, it was a great line, and it was something to do with like pure heading up the road for a bottle of Jack. You know, and people was going, rock and roll, / it'll be Jack Daniels, Frosty Jack, Frosty Jack. Yeah. Not had Frosty Jack for a while. It's basically just, not only does it look like antifreeze and it's blue bottle, it also tastes like antifreeze. Right, so I'm tying it up. Craig Hughes has said one last question. What's your one last question? And I'll definitely make this within 2 hours. You'll need to cover it, man. Frosty Jock. Frosty Jock. I could even call it Frosty Jock, which is better than Frosty Jack. That's really showing how much the Bucky and the Magnum is starting to take effect when I can Frosty Jock. Yeah. I don't cover it. I need to finish writing it. I wrote it. Me and my pal G wrote it. I'm reasonable at playing ish, but what would you suggest the best way to learn scales for solos? Just learn songs or go through all the scales. Frosty Jock. That's you, Raj. Yeah. So you'll be from Fife then, using Raj as a term. There's a place down in Canterbury we went to for the Canterbury Festival. This is 20 years ago, and it was called the Raj Venue. It was a curry house. So we're obviously, there's photos of us standing outside pure Raj. Yeah. The best way to learn scales or solos, the best thing to do is buy yourself a loop pedal. Like the one I mean, you see what I'm doing nearly all my videos. Occasionally it doesn't work, but I'm just winging it. I've no idea what I'm going to do. I'm just basically sticking in 2 chords or 3 chords that sound kind of all right together, and then just putting on a loop and just playing over it for hours, because it gives you so much time to get things right. And the loop pedal never gets bored, never tells you to shut up. It just keeps playing its 3 chords forever. So you can just, and then you end up starting learning a bit more. You can just try different notes. When you've noticed the way I'm playing, I'm kind of like, I make a lot of mistakes, but I generally don't make the same mistake again in the same song. So I'm like, I won't, I've got this wee sort of subconscious thing goes, that one was awful, I'll not play that one again. And then just kind of doing that, trying to find other notes. But I wish it was better. I should really learn some theory of some sort. But as I said, when I'm playing with my band, and it's like I do like a pick slide where I go, eh. Those are the bits that they're impressed with. They're not impressed with the interesting bits or the difficult bits. It's that it's all showmanship in it. You know, think Kiss. It's like a big open D chord, da-dang, and then is just great. Yeah, so now I'll finally give up. Rock on, catch you later, love you all. Next week, got videos coming. I wonder if I'll manage to get that bass or working, or I'll just go absolutely mental with it and never touch it again, and you'll see it for sale. It's just really annoying. In fact, I've put in the extra 3 knobs for that thingy, for that Ibanez system, and so I've got 3 extra knobs, so I need to have a 3-band EQ in it now. Anyway, so I'll leave it just now. Catch you later. I'll get my thing going, and I'll put a wee sneaky preview when I go to end stream, because it's not ended yet, and I'll go, oh look, what's that? It's a Bucky Van Halen. Catch you all later. Love you all.